My name is Lana Cuthbertson, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Areto Labs. And Areto Labs is an Alberta-based social impact tech company. We're a software as a service company that builds software for organizations who want to protect their employees on social media from online toxicity and abuse. So the organizations that we work with, our customers are typically companies that have employees who need to do their job online in some way. So that means sports organizations. We work with to support athletes, media organizations. We work to support, maybe journalists or influencers. We work with some organizations to protect politicians as well. Sometimes those are nonprofits. Sometimes they're, maybe political parties, or sometimes a security apparatus in a government house of some kind. And ultimately, we aim to make digital communities more positive and inclusive. Yeah, social innovation means to me, I think it's still a developing term, so I'm happy to lend my interpretation to it. But really, it's part of the broader world of innovation in my mind. These days, we see that as really focused on technology, and for sure, that's something that Areto Labs does as well. But in particular, I think social innovation just takes into account people at the end of the day and how we relate to one another in our society, and using some of the maybe the scientific or technology advancements that we've been able to come up with as a society to positively impact our communities in one way or another. And so we see Areto Labs very much fitting into the social innovation definition as I've just described it. Yeah, so Areto Labs is creating social change and social good, we hope, by making digital communities more positive and inclusive. And so for us, that means all of us live our lives, especially lately, and I think it's been accelerated over the last few years, online in some way, in some kind of digital community. So, whether or not it's you and I speaking over a video call, whether it's me scrolling through my Twitter feed and interacting with my various communities there in the evenings, which I try to avoid doing too much of, or whether it's, having conversations with friends and family and in message groups, it really ranges. I see Areto Labs being able to provide tools for those community leaders to create more positive communities. We see this at work as well with channels like Slack and Microsoft Teams. And so, because we're all living in digital worlds, I really think there's a big opportunity to take some of the principles that we know from community building and some of the technology that we've built and combine those two things to create a more inclusive environment. For me, the real origin story of Areto Labs comes from my volunteer work in trying to create gender equality in politics. So one example of creating a more inclusive digital community would mean making social media a more welcoming place for people from diverse backgrounds, women, but people from all sorts of diverse communities. And I think, if we can encourage more people to get involved in politics, we'll probably have a more well-rounded, better society with more people engaged and more people feeling like it's a safe place to be and a place to express their values and their leadership. And that applies to a lot of different sort of societal buckets as well, media, sports, lots of different things like that. So that's what we ultimately, the social impact we ultimately hope to have down the road. And then also, leveraging the levers of business and working with organizations who are really kind of seeing the problems that are cropping up in our social world impact their bottom line as well. So hopefully it's a win-win. For me, a world driven by social innovation looks generally, I think, just more optimistic. And I say that because I think there are some subtle differences in the sort of mechanics of how our world works these days. And there are a number of companies that are, full on, in my opinion, for-profit companies who are embracing the values of social innovation in a way that doesn't necessarily materially change the mechanics of how their business works. Like, it's not like they're turning into a nonprofit organization and ignoring sort of the profit motive and shareholder value and all that type of thing. But they are running their business in a way that harnesses this, I think, human desire that we all have for progress and creating, making the world a better place. You know, some of us might disagree on what that looks like specifically, but the vast majority of us want things to be better and want things to be good for, you know, all humankind. And so I think really a world driven by social innovation just looks more like more organizations, more entities, more companies embracing a social motive alongside a profit motive. And I think, you know, for a lot of us who have started to build our careers, I think we've experienced working for companies who fully embrace and acknowledge a social purpose of some kind as part of what drives that company, and it's been it's way more exciting and way more fulfilling for all of us to work in places like that. So that's, to me, what social innovation looks like. It's just acknowledging that you know, there's a fabric to what people are motivated by, and embracing sort of that color rather than the black and white of, you know, profit and bottom line all the time. I think there's a way to run our world that embraces the concept of abundance and sort of a win-win. You know, you can have a successful business and make a profit and do good things. And ultimately, I think that's probably a way to stay alive as a business and build a business that has longevity. You know, we're seeing a lot of sort of environmental social governance concepts come into play, and people are really quite focused on one of them, the environment concept. And there's a whole narrative around climate change and our energy sources and things like that that are pretty black and white. And I think you can extend that to that social piece and to that governance piece in similar ways. And so, I mean, the way to conclude here would be to say that I think a world driven by social innovation just generally looks more positive, and that's why we're doing what we're doing.